بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Halqah Thaniyah, the second volume of Durus fi Ilm al-Usul by Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sad rahmatullah alayh. We reached Fa'idatu Ilm al-Usul. What is the benefit of Ilm al-Usul? After talking about the subject matter, then and definition, what's the benefit? From what we have said, it has become clear that the benefit of Ilm al-Usul is to know those common elements in jurisprudential reasoning. So when we want to understand a ruling in fiqh, we may use different rules. Some rules can be only about that issue or similar issues in the same, for example, section in fiqh. But there are rules that you can use it quite across the fiqh in different abwab. For example, Hujjiyatul Zawahir al-Kitab or Hujjiyatul Zahir in general. Hujjiyatul Khabar al-Wahid. These are the things that can be useful in Babu Tahara, in Babu Salah, in Babu Sawm, in Kitab al-Ghadha. So these are quite general. But for example, if you want to know something about wuzu, tayammum, what is the meaning of sa'idan in fatayammamu sa'idan tayyib? These are, we said, not applicable to all different sections of fiqh. So we call those common elements, common rules that can be used all over the fiqh, almost all over, or you can say more than one bab, we call them usuli. So the benefit is that they help us in a general way in jurisprudential reasoning. It is like mantiq, like logic for philosophy, for example. Logic is not like one particular rule in philosophy. For example, in philosophy we have qa'idatu al-wahid. Al-wahidu la yasturu anhu illa al-wahid. This qaida is important, but it cannot be used in all different parts of philosophy. But rules of logic can be used in all different parts of philosophy. So if you look at the text, please. Fa'idatu ilm al-usul. According to my edition of the book, it's page 160. Some people, for you is also 160, but some people may have different volumes.
It's in the previous one.
Yes. This is the remaining part of the previous handout. 160, because in this edition, Halqah Ula comes first and then continues with Halqah Thaniyah. Those whose Halqah Thaniyah is separately published, it will be beginning because we're just first few pages. اتضح مما سبق أن لعلم الأصول فائدة كبيرة للاستدلال الفقهي. It has become clear from what سبق, what was discussed before, what has passed. It has become clear that for the science of usul, there is great fa'idah, great benefit. للاستدلال الفقهي, for jurisprudential reasoning. وذلك أن الفقيه في كل مسألة فقهية يعتمد على نمطين من المقدمات في استدلاله الفقهي. This is because the jurist in every jurisprudential problem here means issue, topic, masail fil fiqh, for example, in every mas'ala, faqih relies on two types of muqaddamat, premises, in istidlal fiqh, in jurisprudential reasoning. Sometimes the first type is this: anasiru khassa bitilka al-mas'ala. There are elements that can be useful for that particular mas'ala. من قبيل الرواية التي وردت في حكمها. For example, there can be a hadith about that fiqh issue. Okay? For example, you want to know whether a person who is traveling his job should do qasr or itmam. There can be a riwayah that relates to this fiqh mas'ala. Or ظهورها في إثبات الحكم المقصود. What is the معنى الظاهري for this riwayah? Does it mean it should be tamam or it should be qasr? Or عدم وجود معارض لها. There is no conflicting hadith for this. Anything that is about this mas'ala particularly come under the first type. But there is a second type. والآخر عناصر مشتركة تدخل في الاستدلال. There are also common elements that come into that reasoning about that issue, but also في الاستدلال على حكم مسائل أخرى. But they can also come to help us in reasoning for other مسائل. في مختلف أبواب الفقه, in different sections of fiqh. For example, أن خبر الواحد الثقة حجة. خبر واحد of the person who is reliable is حجة. Or أن ظهور الكلام حجة. These are not only for one mas'ala or even for one section of fiqh. These are very general. النمط الأول من المقدمات. The first type of premises that come in fiqh, in fiqh reasoning. يستوعبه الفقيه بحثا في نفس تلك المسألة. Faqih will exhaust studying this, means will completely discuss this when he is studying that particular mas'ala. لأن ذلك النمط من المقدمات مرتبط بها خاصة, because this type of premises relate to that issue. So it's better to bring all discussion about ahadith, mu'ariz, everything about ma'na, dalala, sanad, about this mas'ala under that mas'ala. This is why sometime in Dars Kharij, for many days, they discuss one mas'ala. Okay? But when it comes to usul, they say this is our mabna, that in usul we have discussed. They don't need to repeat it for every mas'ala that we discuss. Okay, zahir is hujjah, khabar wahid is hujjah. For every mas'ala we don't need to discuss this. So, النمط الأول من المقدمات يستوعبه الفقيه بحثا في نفس تلك المسألة. The first type of premises, faqih discuss it completely discusses it when it's about that particular mas'ala, because it's related only to that mas'ala. But the second type of muqaddamat, فهو بحكم عدم اختصاصه بمسألة دون أخرى أنيط ببحث آخر. Because of not being related to one particular mas'ala, the second type, okay? Because these second type of premises are not related to one mas'ala and not the other, its discussion is خارج النطاق البحث الفقهي في هذه المسألة. It falls under the, outside the borders of fiqh discussion. هذا البحث الآخر هو الذي يعبر عنه بعلم الأصول. The second type is علم الأصول. Discussions which are general and we cannot keep repeating them for every mas'ala. They are very useful for different types of masail. We discuss them in أصول الفقه. وبقدر ما اتسع الالتفات تدريجا من خلال البحث الفقهي إلى العناصر المشتركة اتسع علم الأصول. It's a beautiful point. If you go back to early centuries, you see discussion about usul al-fiqh was very limited. But when fuqaha discuss fiqh, gradually they come across issues that are common. Say, okay, we discussed this in ilm al-usul. We add this to ilm al-usul. So little by little, ilm al-usul becomes more expanded. How become more expanded? Because fuqaha in their fiqh discussions come across questions which are general. So we leave them for usul al-fiqh. Okay? So, بقدر ما اتسع الالتفات تدريجا من خلال البحث الفقهي إلى العناصر المشتركة, as much as attention gradually in fiqh, from fiqh reasoning, attention to common elements increases, as much as this attention increases, ilm al-usul is expanded. So the more you notice common elements that you have to discuss, the more usul becomes expanded. وازداد أهميته, and importance of ilm al-usul also increases. وبذلك صح القول, and because of this it is right to say بأن دور علم الأصول بالنسبة إلى الاستدلال الفقهي يشابه دور علم المنطق بالنسبة إلى الاستدلال بوجه عام. We can say, it is right to say that the role, the role of ilm al-usul in relation to fiqh reasoning is similar to the role of logic in relation to istidlal in general. In philosophy, in theology, everywhere we need mantiq, because mantiq is to tell us how to argue, how to define properly. حيث إن علم المنطق يزود الاستدلال بوجه عام بالعناصر المشتركة, because the science of logic provides reasoning in a general way, not reasoning in a particular mas'ala, not reasoning about this issue in falsafa or this issue in mathematics. In a general way, mantiq has nothing to do with the particular masail. Mantiq tells you in a general way how you should form arguments, how you should think. So, ilm al-mantiq, the science of logic, yuzawwid means provide, supplies. Istidlal in a general way provides it with what? بالعناصر المشتركة, common elements, which are not exclusive to one sections of thinking. It's not about one particular type of categories or thinking, It's not about mathematics only. It's not about theology only. What you study in mantiq can be useful everywhere. So, similar to this, علم الأصول يزود الاستدلال الفقهي خاصة. علم الأصول also gives common elements, but علم الأصول is for fiqh. Of course, we can say it's not actually only fiqh, because I believe ilmul usul is helpful for any science which is dependent on Quran and Sunnah. Even if you want to have, for example, akhlaq, Islamic akhlaq, you need ilmul usul. Islamic economics, you need ilmul, because any Islamic science which needs Quran and Sunnah needs usul al-fiqh. Some people think we study fiqh and usul only for fiqh, but actually this is our methodology of understanding Quran and Sunnah. For any subject you need to be strong in fiqh and usul. Okay? علم الأصول يزود الاستدلال الفقهي خاصة, which of course we have a little reservation here, but he says it provides jurisprudential reasoning only with common elements التي لا تختص بباب من أبواب الفقه دون بابا, which is not exclusive to a particular section of fiqh. Common elements that come in different sections of fiqh. This is why there is a saying among scholars, ulama, they say, لا فقه لمن لا أصول له. Have you heard this? Say, if someone is not very good in usul, he is not a faqih. لا فقه لمن لا أصول له. But it's not the opposite. You cannot say لا أصول لمن لا فقه له, because fiqh is not a prerequisite for usul. Yeah? Although sometimes usul also needs fiqh, but normally it's general. Okay, now we move on to the next part, which is a beautiful discussion Ayatollah Shahid Sadr has about hukm shar'i. You are already familiar with many aspects of hukm shar'i, religious ruling. حكم تكليفي, حكم وضعي, حكم واقعي, حكم ظاهري, الأحكام تابعة للمصالح والمفاسد. These are the things that you are all familiar. But now we want to have a deeper discussion. Okay? الحكم الشرعي وتقسيمه. Religious ruling and its divisions, its classifications. What do we mean by hukm shar'i? We mean a ruling which is a kind of legislation, a kind of law that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated in order to regulate human life. In every aspect of our life, we need some guidelines. Okay? For prayer, for fasting, for hajj, for marriage, for divorce, for business, interaction, buying, selling, renting, hiring, for judiciary system. We need lots of legislations. Hukm shar'i is a law or regulation which is made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to regulate our life. Al-hukm al-shar'i هو التشريع الصادر من الله تعالى. Is the legislation which is صادر من Allah, means issued from God, means Allah has made this legislation. A legislation made by God لتنظيم حياة الإنسان, to regulate human life, وتوجيهه, and direct human life. Regulate and direct human life. I think one of the good things that we can have in exam is to give you a paragraph and ask you to put into fluent English.
Translate.
Yes. It's, I think, helpful. Because, pardon?
We have done a few times in FIG, and especially in FIG, we have
Translated? Yes. Because translation is an art. To be able to have fluent translation and accurate is an art. وَهُوَ عَلَى قِسْمَيْنِ. There are two types of hukm shar'i. As you know, we said hukm shar'i is either taklifi or waz'i. Al-hukm taklifi is the religious ruling which directly pertains to our actions. Those five, wujub, istihbab, ibaha, karaha, tahrim, these are called hukm taklifi because they directly are about our actions. But al-hukm al-wad'i is not directly about action. Al-hukm al-wad'i defines a condition that would imply some of our actions. Tahara, najasa by itself is not taklif, it's not an obligation, it's not about our action. But if it is tahir or najas, it would imply certain actions from us. Zawjiyya is not hukm taklifi. Zawjiyya is a condition that either exists or doesn't exist. But if zawjiyya is established, it brings some taklif. Wajib or mustahab or haram or makruh or mubah. If it is not established, it brings other takalif. Okay? Talaq is the same. Shartiyat, sababiyya, mani'iyya, all of these are hukm waz'i. I hope you remember. Okay.
Wadi means your courage, doesn't it?
Pardon?
Wadi means your courage, doesn't it? Wadi?
Wad', yes, means condition. Or something that you establish as a condition. وَهُوَ عَلَى قِسْمَيْنِ. Huwa refers to al-hukm al-shar'i. أحدهما الأحكام التكليفية التي تتعلق بأفعال الإنسان. Those rulings that are about obligations. Okay? I am hesitant to say obligatory rulings because if you say obligatory, it's not accurate. Because ahkam taklifiyya includes even mustahab and makruh. So you cannot translate obligatory. You can say obligational.
How about recommended?
Recommended doesn't include wajib. So you can say obligational, means about taklif. But whether it is wajib or not, it is ilzami or not, that's another issue. Okay? So how do you translate ahkam taklifi?
Based on obligation.
Obligational, not obligatory. Al-ahkam taklifiyah. Inshallah, one of the things that we should do after a few years, if inshallah we are alive, is after you master these sciences, we sit together and discuss what are the best terminology. Then we can recommend to other people. It is very important. But if you know just English, it's not enough. If you know just fiqh and usul, it's not enough. You need to know English, fiqh and usul, and be also kind of creative. Then we can recommend. So, obligational rulings which relate to human actions. So this is the first type. وَلَهَا تَوْجِيهٌ سلام عليكم توجيه عملي مباشر. These rulings have توجيه عملي, means they direct actions directly, primarily, immediately. توجيه means to give orientation, direction. Okay? توجيها عمليا مباشر means they directly and immediately relate to our actions and they want to give orientation and direction to us in our actions. They basically tell you what to do and not to do. Either by ilzam or by recommendation. والآخر, but there is another type of حكم شرعي. الأحكام الوضعية التي ليس لها توجيه عملي مباشر. They do not directly relate to our actions. They do not directly tell us what to do, what not to do. وكثيرا ما, and many times, often, these become تقع موضوعا لحكم تكليفي. الأحكام الوضعية often become subject for أحكام تكليفي. For example, زوجية. زوجية is حكم وضعي. It's not directly about what should we do or what shouldn't we do. But if زوجية is there, it becomes موضوع, subject for some أحكام تكليفي. For example, for husband, it's obligatory to give nafaqah, to meet the living cost of his wife. Okay? So, what is حكم تكليفي? Is وجوب النفقة على الزوج للزوجة. This is تكليفي. But just زوجية, this is زوج of that person and that is زوجة of this person, this doesn't say what to do, what not to do. Directly, I mean, primarily. It brings as a consequence some taklif, but directly it says they are زوج or they are not زوج. Is it clear?
Can you tell us what's meaning مباشرا here? عملي مباشرا.
مباشر.
مباشر.
Mubashir means directly, immediately. Mubashir comes from bashara, means skin. Mubashir is the one who is directly, as if it touches the skin, directly is involved in something. For example, in fiqh, we say قاتل بالتسبيب قاتل بالمباشرة. A person asks another person to kill someone. Okay? So the killer who actually killed that person is mubashir. The one who pays him to kill is بالتسبيب. He is killer but not mubashir. By causation. Okay? Is it clear? Or we have fa'ila mubashir, fa'ila بالتسبيب. In philosophy also we discuss fa'ila mubashir. Okay, now up to here was not new. You knew what is hukm taklifi, hukm wazi, you knew. Now we want to discuss further. What are the foundations of hukm taklifi, obligational ruling? Mabadi'ul hukm taklifi. Mabadi is the plural for mabda. Mabda means origin, principle, beginning. But here we mean foundations. Origins or foundations. So, what are the origins of hukm taklifi? For example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you must go to Hajj if you are mustati. لله على الناس حج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا. This is hukm taklifi. Hukm taklifi, inshallah we will mention, and you already know, is sometimes expressed by insha or by ikhbar. Sometimes Allah may say, for example, for you that hajju, sometimes you say لله على الناس حج البيت. It can be expressed as amr or as ikhbar, but it doesn't make difference in being hukm taklifi. But what we want to discuss is what are the foundations, how something becomes wajib or haram. Okay? Ayatollah Sad Rahmatullah Alayh says we can distinguish between few elements as foundations. There are 2 or 3 elements. You can say 3, or if it is not clear for you, at least 2. First is what he calls milak. Milak means, this is a term that many times we use in fiqh and usul. Milakul hukm. Milak means criterion. Means the reason for something. Milak. Okay? For example, let me give you an ordinary example. We say we want to give gifts and prizes to good students. Okay? We have good students, we want to give them prize. The first question comes is, on what basis? Because as soon as you say we want to give give prize to good students, you have to say who are good students. So this needs milak, this needs a basis, this needs criterion. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not arbitrarily say this is wajib, this is mustahab, this is haram, this is makruh. It's not arbitrary. It has milak, means it has some basis, some criteria. Okay? So, Ayatollah Sad Rahmatullah Alayhi says, the one who is legislator, the one who is lawmaker, in fiqh, of course, we deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as lawmaker and legislator, but it can be also in ordinary situations, a parliament, a king, head of an organization, any person who makes a law, okay, must first have a milak, a criterion, a basis. For example, we say this action is useful. For example, we want to say that our students here must do mubahasa. Say, okay, mubahasa is very useful. It has milak. It's very useful, and without mubahasa, they cannot learn properly. This is milak. After considering this milak, then we will have irada. So anyone or any group who are making laws and regulations, first they think of the benefits and harms of mubahasa, and they say no. This is something that has benefits that are necessary. When they come to recognizing this great benefit, this milak, then in them there will be irada, will, because they want the interest of the students. So when they realize it has great interest for students, they want it. There will be irada. In the case of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, He knows that in salat, in hajj, in zakat, there is great maslahah, great interest for us. And He then has irada for that. He wants it. Okay? The third element is i'tibar. After milak and irada, there is i'tibar. That whoever is lawmaker considers this as an obligation or as a ruling that mukallafin, those who are under his legislation, should observe. Please be very careful. This i'tibar is a kind of shift, a kind of transition. In the stage of milak and irada, it's a matter of understanding what is useful, what is not useful, and wishing that to happen or not to happen. But then you go further and you would consider it as a duty for mukallaf. Ayatollah Saad says this third part, maybe you agree or don't agree. But basically, at least those two are foundations. Al-milako wal-irada. Okay? You cannot have any ruling, hukm taklifi, without milak and irada. We believe also i'tibar has to be there, but if you don't agree, okay. At least milak and irada. After this is finalized, then we enter into another stage, and that is to express it, to announce it, to declare it to mukallaf. Because lawmaker, after makes the law, then has to announce it. Suppose, for example, when a law is passed in parliament, what do? They publish it in official newspaper. Many countries, they have official newspaper that all the laws are printed there. They may also put it on their website, for example. This bayan, this declaration is very important. So we have two stages. A stage of forming a hukm, a stage of expressing the hukm. So this is what ulama call maqam al-thubut wa maqam al-ithbat. Expressing, declaring. I think we had this before, maqam al-thubut wal-ithbat. This is one of the most useful distinction. It's very helpful to be always aware of maqam al-thubut wa maqam al-ithbat. For example, what are the qualifications for marja' taqlid? These qualifications are in maqam al-thubut. But then how to identify who is qualified? This is maqam al-ithbat. Sometimes there are people, this is also good to remember. You know, these are ulamai discussions, you know. For example, sometimes we say someone is very good in maqam al-thubut, but he is unfortunately unknown. In maqam isbat, there is no maqam isbat that much about him. Means he is not known. There are people who are, mashallah, very knowledgeable, very good, and they are not known. There are people who are very good and also they are known. So they have a strength in maqam al-thubut and maqam isbat. There are people who have no qualities in maqam al-thubut, but they are very good in presenting themselves. Okay? Yes. So they have maqam isbat, but it's void, because to be objective, you cannot express something which is not there. So this is a deception. Always maqam al-ithbat should follow maqam al-thubut. Yeah? But sometimes we use this terminology for saying that something which is there and something which is expressed may not match. This is one of the problems that happens. There are very good people who might be unknown, and there are people who are not that much good and they are very famous. So you have to be careful. Don't think whoever is more famous is better. Okay? Because the difference between these two, maqam al-thubut and maqam al-ithbat, is different. So, In مقام الثبوت, what do we need for حكم شرعي تكليفي? ملاك and إرادة and اعتبار. In مقام الإثبات is expression, bayan, to express. Sometimes they consider al-milak wal-irada as foundations of hukm, because the third is controversial. Sometimes they say all the three. So, please look at the text. Mabadi'ul hukm taklifi. Mabadi means basis, foundations of obligational ruling. Page from second handout, 162. Page 162.
The first page.
Yes. Yes. ونحن إذا حللنا عملية الحكم التكليفي. When we analyze the procedure, amaliya means operation, but here means like procedure. When we analyze the procedure of hukm taklifi, how a hukm taklifi comes to a reality, like wujub. كما يمارسها أي مولا في حياتنا الاعتيادية. You know, in usul al-fiqh, many times, in order to understand the relation between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and us, because He is Mawla, we may consider the relation between ordinary Mawlas, masters, and their subjects. Yeah? Many times we use that analogy. So, in the way that any Mawla, any master in our ordinary life observes it and exercises it. Yumarasu means exercising. Okay? I'tiyadi, what does it mean? Ordinary. In our ordinary life. Because, as I said, the way we understand Allah's mastership is very much based on the way we understand ordinary mastership. نجد أنها تنقسم إلى مرحلتين. We find that the procedure of obligational ruling is divided into two parts, two phases. Marhala means two phases, two sections. إحداهما, the first stage is مرحلة الثبوت للحكم. ثبوت means existence, reality of the hukm, the ruling. Al-ukhra, the other stage is, or the other phase is مرحلة الإثبات والإبراز. إثبات والإبراز. فالمولى في مرحلة الثبوت يحدد ما يشتمل عليه الفعل من مصلحة. The master in the phase of thubut. Thubut is reality, the formation of the hukm based on realities. Defines, yuhaddidu means defines what the action involves from interest. Means what interests are there. What can this, for example, mubahasa, what benefits are there? Salat, what benefits are there? وَهِيَ مَا يُسَمَّى بِالْمِلَاك. This considering, masla means considering milak. حَتَّى إِذَا أَدْرَكَ, to the extent that if the master أَدْرَكَ, understands, وُجُودَ مَصْلَحَةٍ, existence of interest, بدرجة معينة في that a certain degree of maslaha is there. Okay? If Mawla understands that there is a certain degree of maslaha interest in this, تولدت إرادة لذلك الفعل. A will for that action will be born. Will be born. تولدت إرادة لذلك الفعل. So Mawla, in Mawla, there will be will, there will be irada, means he desires, he wants that action to come to reality. How much he wants, because sometimes you want something a lot, sometimes because the degree, how much you want it, it depends on how much maslaha is there. Sometimes that maslaha is so important that you say definitely, necessarily you have to bring this. Sometimes say it's better, but even you don't do it, it's okay. Sometimes say you must not do it, it's haram. Sometimes say it's better not to do it, it's makruh. So it all depends on how much maslaha or fasad, harm is there, interest or harm. بدرجة تولدت إرادة لذلك الفعل بدرجة تتناسب مع المصلحة المدركة. This will, which will be born for the action, this desire and will for the action, will be in a degree which is corresponding to the interest which is understood. وبعد ذلك, after that, يسوغ المولى إرادته صياغة جعلية من نوع الاعتبار. This is maybe a little bit, because Ayatollah Saad writes modern Arabic, so sometimes it might be difficult. Of course, this is not very necessarily modern, but maybe not very much used to it if you only studied old texts. Siyaqa is the action that when someone is, for example, casting metals, you know, for example, you want to make a sword, okay? You melt the iron or a steel and put it in some casts. This is called siyaqa, which sad and ghain. This is different from siyaqa, sin and qaf. Sin and qaf means like driving, but siyaqa, sad and ghain means to cast. So after Mawla understands that there is maslaha in this, and this understanding of Mawla is finalized, based on that, Mawla will put this into the form of a kind of hukm. Mawla considers this as a hukm. This is ja'al. Ja'al here doesn't mean fake. You know, sometimes you say something is ja'ali, means it's fake. It's made, you know, by deception. Ja'al here means to form, to cast. So, بعد ذلك يسوغ المولى إرادته صياغة جعلية من نوع الاعتبار. After that, Mawla casts his will in the form of a kind of i'tibar, consideration. He considers it as a i'tibar is more than consideration. It's very difficult to translate in English. It means like a kind of posing, a kind of creating something. Mawla forms or poses a hukm, because he very much wants this, then says, you must do this. Okay? I don't know, do you understand? We are seeing here a shift. Before this marhala is just a matter of understanding what is useful, what is not useful, and wanting that. But then he has to do something extra, and that is to form a command, a taklif. So he casts milak and irada into a kind of hukm, a kind of either insha or ikhbar. Either he said you must do hajj, or he says hajj is necessary. فَيَعْتَبِرُ الْفِعْلَ عَلَى ذِمَّةِ الْمُكَلَّفِ. He poses this as an obligation on the shoulder of mukallaf. فَهُنَاكَ إِذَنْ فِي مَرْحَلَةِ الثُّبُوتِ. So, in the stage of thubut, there are three things. ملاك وإرادة واعتبار. وليس الاعتبار عنصرا ضروريا في مرحلة الثبوت. I'tibar by itself is not a necessary element in the stage of thubut. Thubut means reality. The reality of the action, not the declaration. بل يستخدم غالبا كعمل تنظيمي وصياغي اعتاده المشرعون والعقلاء. This is something which is normally used, many times used, as an organizational action, a kind of casting into a kind of taklif that religious people and uqala are used to it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also follows the same normal pattern. Of course, Allah's mastership is very different from mastership of human beings. But the way He speaks to us is using ordinary language, although He may use ordinary language much more efficiently, but He uses the same Arabic. If He speaks Arabic, if He speaks Aramaic, if He speaks in any language, He uses the grammar of the same language, the words of the same language. If He is making law, He considers the same law that other lawmakers observe, but of course, His is much different in content. وَقَدْ صَارَ الشَّارِعُ عَلَى طَرِيقَتِهِمْ فِي ذَلِكَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shari' here means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is our real and true lawmaker. He follows their path. وبعد اكتمال مرحلة الثبوت بعناصرها الثلاثة. After completion of the stage of thubut with its three elements, الملاك والإرادة والاعتبار، أو بعنصريه الأولين على أقل التقدير, or the minimum is after completion of the first two elements, الملاك والإرادة. Okay? After three of them, or at least after two of them, we have what? تبدأ مرحلة الإثبات. Then the stage of expression starts. وهي المرحلة التي يبرز فيها المولى بجملة إنشائية أو خبرية مرحلة الثبوت. This is the stage that the master يبرز is like يظهر, means he expresses either with a sentence which is insha'i or khabari. Khabari means a statement. Insha, you remember, insha is ma la yattasifu bis-sidq wal-kizb. It's a kind of sentence but it's like command, like prohibition, like ta'ajjub, insha. You cannot say it is true or false, because insha creates the meaning by itself. يبرز فيها المولى بجملة أو إنشائية أو خبرية مرحلة الثبوت. He says to people what is the reality بدافع من الملاك, because of the motivation that is coming from that basis and will. هذا الإبراز قد يتعلق بالإرادة مباشرة. This expression sometimes belongs directly to the will. For example, he says, أريد منكم كذا, I want from you this. وقد يتعلق بالاعتبار الكاشف عن الإرادة. But sometimes instead of إرادة, we go to the third part, اعتبار. And that اعتبار, of course, discovers for us, or discloses for us, or reveals for us the إرادة. So when Mullah says, لله على الناس حج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا, it's necessary for whoever is capable to do Hajj for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From this you understand the irada of Allah. وَإِذَا تَمَّ هَذَا الْإِبْرَازُ مِنَ الْمَوْلَى, when the Mawla makes his will known, he expresses his will, أصبح من حقه على العبد قضاء لحق مولويته الاتيان بالفعل. It becomes one of his rights over his servant to do this. If he wants to fulfill the right of mastership of Mawla, قضاء لحق مولى, means if he wants to fulfill the right of mastership of Mawla, he has to bring this. وانتزع العقل عن إبراز المولى لإرادته الصادر منه بقصد التوصل إلى مراده عناوين متعددة. And our aql, our intellect, abstracts from expressing of his will by Mawla in order to make sure that we do that, several titles, several concepts. For example, sometimes say al-ba'th. Mawla is moving us, pushing us. Tahrik. Tahrik means like to provoke. Yeah? Because Mawla wants to make sure that we do this. So he pushes us, he provokes us, he moves us towards that action. وَكَثِيرًا مَا يُطْلَقُ عَلَى الْمِلَاكِ وَالْإِرَادَةِ. Many times the name of Mabadi'ul Hukm is applied to Milak and Irada, because these two are two elements which are necessary for Subut. كثيرا ما يطلق على الملاك والإرادة وهما العنصران اللازمان في مرحلة الثبوت اسم مبادئ الحكم. Many times the name, the title of Mabadi'ul Hukm, basis or foundations of the ruling, is the title which is given to Milak and Irada. What are Milak and Irada? Two necessary elements in Subut, stage of Subut. وذلك بافتراض أن الحكم نفسه هو العنصر الثالث من مرحلة الثبوت. Hukm itself is the third element. So because Hukm is the third element, it comes after Milak and Irada. And the third element is like I'tibar. Hukm and I'tibar are similar. والملاك والإرادة مبادئ له. وإن كان, but although Hukm is the third one and Milak and Irada are Mabadi'ul Hukm, not the Hukm, but to be honest, the most important thing is what? Milak and Irada. The most important thing is the Milak and Irada, because Hukm follows Milak and Irada. وَإِن كَانَ Ruhul hukm, the spirit of the ruling, and the haqiqah, the reality of the ruling, because of which it becomes موضوعا لحكم العقل بوجوب الامتثال, because of which our aql says you must implement this, you must follow this hukm, is nafsul milak wal irada. Why aql says you must listen to Mawla when he says to do something? Because aql says Mawla has a maslaha, observed a maslaha in this and wants this from you, so you must do it. Nafsul milak wal irada, it's the very basis and will or desire. إذا تصدى المولى لإبرازهما, when the master wants to express in order to make sure that we do it. Tawassul means to reach. He wants us to reach ila muradi, to reach his murad. Murad means what he wants. سواء أنشأ اعتبارا أو لا, whether it is by creating i'tibar or not. The most important thing is what? Al-milako wal-irada.
Ibraz, please.
Pardon?
What is Ibraz?
Ibraz, izhar, to express, to declare. Okay. This part is simple now. لكل واحد من الأحكام التكليفيات الخمسة مبادئ. Every one of 5 types of hukm taklifi has its own mabadi, its own basis, which match its nature. تتفق مع طبيعته. The basis for wujub, for hurba, for karaha, for istihbab, and ibaha match these types of hukm. For example, what is mabadi ul wujub? When something becomes wajib, al-iradatu shadidah, when there is a strong will of Mawla. But why there is a strong will of Mawla? What is behind this? Al-maslahatul baligha darajatan aliyah ta'ba an al-tarkhis fil mukhalaf. When there is a maslaha which reaches a very high degree that refuses ignoring and exempting from that. Ta'ba and tarkhis. It would not accept to be forgiven, to be exempted. Tarkhis means to give leave, to give exemption. It has such a great maslaha that we cannot say to people, if you don't do it, it's okay. What is mabadi ul hurma? So for wujub, there must be such a great maslaha that Mawla then would desire it or want it or demand it categorically. For hurma is, instead of maslaha and irada, it is mafsada and mabghuziyah. Al-mabghuziyatu shadida. It's very much disliked because there is such a mafsada behind it that has reached the same degree of ilzam. In wujub, it has reached a degree that without which we cannot have sa'ada. In hurma, it reaches a degree of being disliked that with it we cannot have maslaha, sa'ada. Haram is something that would be blocking you from sa'ada. الاستحباب والكراهة يتولدان عن مبادئ من نفس النوع. Istihbab and karaha, recommendation and dislike, also are born from principles in the same way, but they are azaf, they are weaker. Their degree is weaker. Therefore, Mawla permits, yasmah. Yasmah means permits. The master permits not to do mustahab, or to do makruh. Although mustahab has maslaha, but the maslaha is not that high. It's lower. Therefore, Mawla says it's better to do it, but even if you don't do it, it's okay. Makruh has mafsada, but the Mawla says it's better not to do it, but even if you do it, it's okay. And then we have mubah. Mubah is used in two senses. Sometimes we say mubah, we mean not wajib, not mustahab, not haram, not makruh. Mubah means completely neutral. Means doing and not doing is equal. Sometimes we mean mubah means it's not obligatory. Then it includes mustahab and makruh as well. Means it's not obligatory. أما الإباحة فهي بمعنيين. إباحة is used in two meanings, two senses. أحدهما الإباحة بالمعنى الأخص. إباحة in its narrower sense, which is considered as the fifth type of أحكام تكليفي. وهي تعبر عن مساواة الفعل والترك في نظر المولى. إباحة explains, discloses, تعبير, you know تعبير. تعبر means conveys, explains that doing and not doing in the opinion of Mawla are equal. So sometimes mubaha means neutral, but sometimes mubaha means something which is not obligatory. For example, sometimes you say, is ghusl jum'ah mubah? In the second sense, yes, it is mubah. Because it means it's not obligatory, permissible. But in the first sense, I say, no, it is not mubah, it is mustahab. You understand? So if you mean by mubah means doing and not doing is equal, then ghusl jum'ah is not mubah. If you mean by mubah is permissible, means not obligatory, not haram, yes, it's any mustahab, any makruh is also mubah. Al-ibaha bil-ma'na al-a'am, in its broader sense, yutlaqu alayha ismu tarkhis, means it's permitted. في مقابل الوجوب والحرمة, because wujub and hurma are obligatory. فتشمل المستحبات والمكروهات. It would include mustahab, makruh, plus neutral. مضافا إلى المباحات بالمعنى الأخص. Anything which is not obligatory becomes mubah. Okay? Then there is another discussion about ibaha. Ibaha, which is iqtiza'i, and ibaha, which is la iqtiza. Inshallah, I will explain this in the next session. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.